How are you guys? I hope you're having a good day and have had a good week. Today, Grandma's decided to tell you another flannel board story. And this one is called The Promise. It is an old Greek legend. Have you ever made a promise? I think we all make promises at some point in our lives. And I hope that when we make a promise, that we have integrity and that we keep our promises. If we say we're going to do something, then we should do it, because that is important. Now, this story is about two young men who were friends. And this is Damon. Damon hurried along the cold stone passageway beneath the castle. He was looking for his friend Pythias, who had been arrested by the king's soldiers. Damon searched among the prisoners until he found Pythias. Here are some chains to show that Pythias is in prison and he's locked up. "Why did they bring you here, my friend?" asked Damon. Pythias reached his hand between the narrow bars to touch his childhood friend. "I am accused of being a rebel," Pythias answered, "but I did nothing." The two young men did not hear the outer door open as the king entered the dungeon. There's the king. He stood listening to the boys talk. "How can I help you?" asked Damon. "Shall I go to your parents and comfort them?" "Oh, if only I could see them again," said Pythias. "If only I could say farewell to them. Then I would return again to prison." When the king heard this, he laughed. "So you would come back to die if I would release you to say goodbye to your parents?" Oh, he was very skeptical. "I would come back," answered Pythias. "I promised that I would come back." "How do I know that you would keep your promise?" roared the king. His eyes glared. Can you see that? Damon stood before the king. "Let me stay here in his place. Pythias has always kept his word. You may execute me if he does not keep his promise." The king could not believe his ears. This would be an interesting story to tell. A boy willing to risk his life for the promise of a friend. "I will grant your wish, Pythias," said the king, "if Damon will take your place." And so it was. Pythias was released and Damon was chained in his friend's place. And Pythias was set free to go home. Many days passed. The king came to prison to taunt Damon. "You will die for your friend. He has not kept his promise," jeered the king. "Pythias always keeps his word," replied Damon calmly. Finally, the day of the execution arrived. Many people came to mock the boy who had entrusted his life to his friend. "We told you that he would not return," they jeered. "He will come if he can," Damon said. "It is a long way, and he will come if he..." "Here he comes," shouted a soldier. "Pythias has returned." There he is. Damon smiled as Pythias rushed to take his place. Storms and misfortunes had delayed him, and Pythias could hardly breathe after his hard run. "I made it, Damon," he panted. "I knew that you would," his friend replied. The king was amazed. Never had he known that there could be such friendship and loyalty. His heart softened and he said, "Go, Damon and Pythias, go back to your homes. Keeping your promise has set you free." Then the king turned to the crowd and said, "I would give all my wealth to have one such friend." Weren't they great friends? because they'd always kept their promises, not only to one another, but I'm sure they kept their promises to other people too, so that Damon knew that he could trust his friend to keep his promise that he would return. And he did. And just like Damon and Pythias kept their promises, I hope that we will all keep our promises when we promise to do something or covenant to do something. That is something that we take seriously, and we try our very, very best to keep our promise, because that is the way we should be. Remember, Grandma loves you, and I'll tell you another story later. Bye.